Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to my channel. I have not been on here for a hot minute and I've just really been deciding what I want to do with my channel and really what I deal with every single day and what I live for every single day is my son, and I'm gonna make this channel all about him. So my son does have autism. He has a few other diagnoses that kind of come alongside of that, but what I want to do is make my child kind of the star of the show. It's not easy parenting autism. There isn't a guidebook on how to do it, and they're all so different, and the strongest advice that I've ever gotten is either from parenting forums, from other parents who have kids with autism, from therapists or doctors, and it's not just common knowledge that you stumble upon. So I want to be part of that community to kind of give at least the advice that I have. My son got diagnosed, I knew he was autistic when he was about 9 months old. I just knew. He started getting early childhood intervention when he was 14 months, and he got diagnosed when he was 18 months. There was COVID going on, so I couldn't get him into a doctor at that 14-month mark, but we kind of knew. And there's just some things you just have to live by a little bit different as you parent kids with autism. And number one has got to be patience. You have to have an incredible amount of patience to parent autism. They do a lot of things that aren't always that fun to clean up or to deal with, or repetitive behaviors that are not always, sought after. For instance, coloring on literally everything, or destroying things, or they don't necessarily know that they're doing anything wrong like a neurotypical child would. So you just have to be patient in teaching them. And it's just something for me that I learned. I'm a pretty patient person when it comes with Aiden. I don't really have that struggle, but working with therapists over and over and over has really helped me even maintain a little bit more patience, because sometimes I'm like, oh, child, you colored all over the wall again. But I don't know, I just don't let him see it. For me, I like to explain to him, hey, mommy has to clean now. Oh, mommy's sad. Mommy has to clean the wall. And I'll literally have him watch me scrub the wall because he can't do that yet. Or yeah, it's just patience. They struggle with transitions. They're not always going to eat their food like they should. They're not always going to, my son still doesn't get dressed himself. My son still doesn't do a lot of things, and you just have to be very, very patient. When you're a parent with a kid with autism, you start realizing that you accomplish the little things. And I think every parent with autism, they all say that. You celebrate the little things in life. Like my son drinking out of a cup, it was a freaking party. It was a celebration because that was something we worked on for over a year to get him to do. And then he regressed, and it happens, and you just kind of got to roll with it. The second thing, and it's advice that his doctor gave me when he got diagnosed, was never to parent with anger and or violence. So I don't get angry with Aiden. If Aiden does something wrong, I explain to him, hey buddy, this is why we don't do this. Mommy has to clean now, or mommy has to clean this up, or hey, look, it's broken, like we can't fix it anymore. Whatever the case may be. I do not parent with anger at all. I don't get angry around Aiden. I can be frustrated and sad and whatever. I hold that in until either he's asleep or I am not around him, because it does affect him immensely. It affects him, his behavior, his sleep patterns, whether he's going to eat or not that day. There's just too many things it affects, and I'm not down with it. So we don't do that. And violence is just not something that would have been part of my parenting style anyways. But I will say, when there is people with a sad energy around Aiden, super excitable energy around Aiden, or even just like angry, they're frustrated with life, or not at Aiden, but just around Aiden, he feels it and he acts different. That's also not something I allow around my son. So for instance, we had a dog pass away not too long ago, and I knew it was going to be really sad in the house, so I didn't have him there. I just knew, nope, I'll grieve it later when he's in therapy or when we're not together, but he's not going to be around this. He's not going to feel this, and it's traumatizing to them. So that's not something I do either. Another thing that is so important in parenting autism is scheduling. Aiden has been on a schedule since he was born, so I didn't have a transitional period trying to put him on a schedule when he got diagnosed. I was already on it, thank goodness. If you do get off of a schedule with kid with autism, again, you will notice behavioral changes, maybe eating patterns change or sleep patterns change, or they get more frustrated, they get angry, they start stimming more. They need to really know what's coming next. So you'll notice a lot of people with autism, they love numbers or letters, it's predictable, or they'll watch the same shows or movie over and over because it's predictable. That's why scheduling is so important. That is just a part of daily routine. We have to be on schedule. If we're not on schedule, usually either he's going to struggle or I have some sort of plan to let him know, like, hey, we're not doing this today, we're gonna do this. Another big part of parenting autism is knowing how to do redirection and positive reinforcement. So redirecting him in the sense that transitions are very difficult for kids on the spectrum. That could be moving from one, toy activity to another one, or it could be from, hey, we're sitting down, to, hey, we're leaving. It could be from, hey, we're walking, now we're getting in the car seat. I always have something to help transition him. So when I'm putting him in the car seat, I always have something to hand him. I have like these little magnetic triangles that he plays with. That's just part of that transition. When we were in music therapy, I always had the next activity right away ready while I took away the other one because I didn't want him to have a meltdown. Another big thing about parenting autism is the environment. Always at home, anywhere you go, any restaurant you go to, any store you go to, the environment is so important. So number one, I don't have super emotional people in the environment around Aiden. If I know that they're gonna be like that, I just bye. It's not happening. We're not having a family gathering, or I'm not having friends over, whatever the case may be. The lighting is super important. It overstimulates him. If there's too many colors around, if there's too many activities out, if the house is a mess and not clean, if the counter has crumbles on it and it's not clean, those are all factors of the environment that I know that I have to be very aware of and fix so that my son doesn't struggle in them. I also know if we go to a restaurant, he's more than likely going to struggle because he's gonna get overstimulated. So I have a backpack all ready to go for him with extra clothes just in case, it's too cold or too hot, or he spills on himself, or I have activities like these little magnets he plays with. I always have crayons, markers, coloring, something to color. I always have the iPad available. I have different sensory things. I have a surgical brush that I brush his skin with in case he does get overstimulated. All of these things are so crucial to caring with Aiden. It will never change. They're just too important. I also know that everything has to be really, really peaceful around him. So there's certain parts of the day where when he gets overstimulated, I need to have a better environment for him. So right now we're renovating our house. The house literally will shut down into like a sensory home where it'll be very dim lighting. It'll be, I can't wait to post it when it's done. But he needs kind of his space, and he needs to know when to have his space, and he needs to know where to have his space. That all comes along with setting up the environment as you should. Another big thing is eliminating problems. So kids are bound to get into trouble. Kids are bound to get into things. Now, if you remove them and not allow them to happen, we are preventing problems. So packing the backpack, that's preventing a problem. Not having markers out when you're in the shower, that's preventing a problem. I have made that mistake time and time again, and he finally doesn't do that anymore, but I am not eliminating the problem if it's happening. Also, when I know that he needs more activity and we're gonna be home all day, do I set up the house so that he has more stuff to climb or to play with or to fiddle with or whatever he may need? That is preventing a problem. So Aiden has like this little ladder that he climbs up and down and up and down and up and down, but it prevents problems because he's getting energy out. And if I needed to study or to do work or be on the computer and I couldn't give him as much face-to-face time that day, I knew that I needed to set up the house accordingly, so I would. Understand that your life now kind of revolves around your child and, I don't want to say condition, but the autism. Kids on the spectrum need 40 hours of face-to-face time a week. that's a lot of time. And if you don't have therapists and you don't have them in a special therapy center, Aiden has all of that, but he needs a lot of face-to-face time with me as well. That means that I did, 300 plus hours of parent training to be able to know how to do that face-to-face time with him. So it could be been with the OT or the SLP or different music therapies, just knowing how to give him that face-to-face time and make it quality time with him. And Aiden loves it. Aiden loves therapy. He grew up on it. So for him, it's an enjoyment. But I've noticed on the weeks that maybe I was in school or working, like he struggled more and his behavior changed, his sleep changed. He would have more anxieties. His behavior wasn't the same. It's just too important. So a part of my parenting is always to have face-to-face time with Aiden and be truly make it quality time with him when we're together, and it's just me and him, and the phone's away, and things are away, and it's just right here, we're right here, baby. So that's super important. I also, when Aiden does something wrong, I explain to him consequences and expectations, always. And maybe he's really young, but Aiden struggles with communication. So the more that I talk to him, the more success that we're gonna have in that. So if I'm walking through the house, even though it's just me and Aiden, I'm like turning on the light, opening the fridge, doing this, doing that, because he needs to hear those words constantly for him to be able to pick up the language, number one. Number two, I also explain things to him to understand, because he doesn't understand the concept of fear. So I need to kind of let him mess up to understand, ooh, no, I don't like that, right? But I also need to explain to him, like, baby, do you see, like, this hurts, this is ouchy, this does not feel good. Or, hey, baby, you made a mess and mommy has to clean this. And just really like treating them like a human, like an adult. They're not any different than anyone else. But to me, especially with my son, he's more advanced mentally, and he does understand those things. I know he does. So I treat him as such. I don't necessarily baby him. Well, I mean, in some ways I do. I love babying my son. But I treat him like I would treat any other kid in any other kind of a little bit older than what he is. So that's part of my parenting. Another thing is boundaries. So Aiden has a lot of anxiety. So the word no is not something that I use in an inappropriate manner. I don't say no, or no this. Like if I mean no, it means no. And that's a boundary, and it was really hard for him to get. So I used it in the instances where I absolutely had to. Boundaries are super important. Like, no, we're not touching dog food. It's not happening, because he would always pick it up and throw it into the water. And like I said, I don't get angry with him, but there was a boundary, and it was like, no, this is a boundary. I don't have many of those with him, unless I know that it's always going to make a mess, or it's not going to help him in the future, or it's just a behavior that's going to be really hard for him to get out of when he's older. So that was really important to me in my parenting. Another thing about parenting autism is always having to protect your peace. If I have anxieties, if I have worries, if I'm sad, if I'm angry, and I bring that home, Aiden feels all of it. And really all I'm doing is hurting him, so I don't do that. I make sure, and I go do my hike if I need to, or do my yoga, or meditate when he's not around, or cry if I need to in the shower. Like, I just know that I have to keep my energy around him very happy. So I do protect that, and I don't have people around him that are anxious or angry or sad that day, because it's just not going to do him justice. And I need to always be cognizant of how is this going to affect my son, and that's really important in my style of parenting. Lastly is knowing how to cope with challenges. So Aiden, he stims a lot, excited or anxious, whatever it may be, he's regulating some sort of feeling. Aiden needs a lot of head stimulation. Head banging was one of those things, and you just kind of had to know how to roll with the punches. And with Aiden, I had to teach him to find a safe space to bang his head. or to give him another sort of stimulation. So proprioceptive vestibular therapies, which would be like joint compressions, or it could be surgical brushes, or it could be deep tissue massages, pillow compressions. There's so many things that I did. And one of them was teaching him to find a pillow. We got him a squashmallow, and he would just kind of hit his head side to side on it. And he was happy, and he got his head stimulation without hurting himself. And a big part of parenting autism is rolling with those punches and knowing how to make the corrections without kind of tormenting them or traumatizing them with different therapies. And with Aiden, I always try to make therapy therapeutic for him, and it should be helping him, and it shouldn't be hard for him, and it's just implementing them in the right ways. These are, it's just finding a balance for your kid, because they are all different, all of them. If you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. I know everyone has heard that before, but it's so true. There's accommodations that I have to make for my son that other parents didn't have to make for their kid, and vice versa. So it's just observing as a parent is so incredibly crucial. You need to observe your child and what they need, and learn the cues for what their anxiety looks like, or what their happiness looks like, or what their excited stimming looks like versus, they're not good stimming. So that's just all a part of the parenting, and that comes with it. With these changes, it's something that I've wanted to do for over a year now, and it's just been so many things going on that I have not been able to, but now I am. And we are going into Autism Awareness Month, and I am going to overload with knowledge that either therapists have taught me, or doctors have taught me, or experience has taught me, or other parents have taught me in parenting autism, and kind of how to do it the best way that I know how, and mistakes that I've made. It's just all you can do is be the best you that you can be, to be the best parent that you can be, to be the best advocate for your child, and the most love and acceptance that they will ever need in life. So thank you guys for visiting my channel and listening to all the goodness about Aiden and autism and what it's like parenting the autism. I have a ton of other videos coming out, and I can't wait to share them with you and make our community just a little bit stronger and a little bit tighter. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and comment down below if there's anything specific that you guys want to hear. Okay, there is one thing that I forgot to include. There is something that is so important as a parent of autism, and it's accepting what you're good at and what you're not. And that means taking the right steps to become better at the things that you're not good at. And it's really being super humble as a parent and saying, you know what, I'm not really getting this done with my kids. So how do I get it done and, do it in the best way possible? And there's some things that you're really good at, and that's awesome too. But being humble as a parent and understanding where your strengths and weaknesses are is extremely, extremely important in their development, because man, if you are not humble and there's just some things that your kids are not going to excel in that they could have if you just took steps as a parent to say, you know what, I'm not that great at this, let me get better at it. That is, okay, checking out now.